this kind of thing. And at this time of the day, most people would be getting ready to go to work, get in their cars, and begin the short trek to their jobs. And people may not, of course, be able to do that this morning because they've been told by the police to stay inside their homes and await further notice. We're just approaching the bridge over to notice. We're just approaching the bridge over to the north side now, and where there would normally be, traffic at this time of the day, the bridge is pretty well empty. And as we get closer, I'm sure we'll find a heavier and heavier police presence. One of my colleagues, as I left the office this morning, was saying that he had noticed a heavy police presence there this morning, just after 8 o'clock, when this is believed to have happened. And police have been, searching through the neighborhood. It's believed they're searching for an individual. And we don't know what is behind this or the nature of the fatalities, whether they involve emergency personnel or not. But what is going to be running through the minds of most people is the terrible situation that occurred in Moncton, one of the other three major cities in New Brunswick, back in 2014, when RCMP officers were the fatalities in a dire situation there. So there's going to be a lot of concern. That's going to be foremost in people's minds as they respond to the local Fredericton Police Department and the urging to stay inside and stay away from the Brookside area.
As you say, the Moncton incident, and we've already talked to witnesses who are recalling that and with deep concern about what's unfolding where you are. We do not know the identities of those 4 people killed. We have to emphasize that at this point. But we mentioned the police. There's we would call them ETF here in Toronto, Emergency Task Force. Some people call them SWAT teams. We understand Fredericton Police have that. And of course, the RCMP, not officially the police force for the city of Fredericton, but certainly a presence in the area.
Oh, absolutely. And the RCMP are the municipal police force for many smaller communities in New Brunswick. They work cooperatively with the larger municipal police forces in St. John, Moncton, Fredericton, Bathurst, and other communities. In fact, police force, the RCMP headquarters for J Division are in Fredericton, and you can bet they're conferring with their municipal colleagues about what's needed and what they can do to help in this situation. But the most difficult thing right now, John, is getting clarity on exactly what has happened here to result in the 4 fatalities that we're talking about. And people in the north side of Fredericton are going to be anxious to understand what's going on and when they will be safe to leave their homes. So along Brookside Drive, the affected area, there are subdivisions, there are condominium buildings, and people will obviously be hunkered down in their homes until they get the all clear from the Fredericton Municipal Police.
Harry Forstall, thank you so much. Harry, on the way to the scene, and we'll report the latest when he gets there. Appreciate your time, Harry.
Hope to have more for you soon, John. Thank you.
The emphasis again from the police to stay in place. There is an ongoing police investigation underway. Very likely a manhunt of some sort. Police have not used that word yet, but when you have a large area sealed off, when you have a confirmed shooting, when you have 4 people confirmed dead, there is a rapid and intense search for a suspect, and it's very likely that that is what is going on right now. As well, police emphasize, don't tweet out where you are sheltering in place, and certainly don't send out on social media that you may have seen a police officer outside your home, the police officer wearing this or wearing that or doing this or doing that. Don't put that out there, because there is always the possibility that an individual being looked for by police could garner information about where police are and what their tactics are as well. Let's talk and play a little tape from somebody, and in fact, we're going to go live for one of our reporters on the scene, CBC's Natalie Sturgeon, who is on the scene in Fredericton. Natalie, what do you know?
So shortly around 8 a.m. this morning, we got a report that there was an ongoing investigation in the Brookside Drive area, and then we got reports that there were multiple fatalities, which were confirmed by the Fredericton Police Force. And when we arrived on scene, 4 shots rang out into the air, and ever since that point, people have been brought out of their homes and onto the street where we are standing.
So, okay, I know you can't talk about exactly where you are, but can you describe the scene of where you are?
Well, there are lots of people out here. There are some children. You know, people are sitting on the ground. They're resting. They're chatting with each other. You know, the scene is very much people just not knowing what's going on right now.
Okay, so if people are out and there's children out and people are chatting, this is an area that, at least in the minds of the police, is not deemed to be dangerous?
Well, yes, they have asked people to, you know, stay in their homes, lock their doors. But it's my understanding that these people live in the area where this investigation is ongoing, and so, you know, they don't have a place to go at this point.
This escalated rather rapidly. Can you walk us through in terms of the incident? We're getting a number of reports from witnesses who heard, they believe, were a series of shots, and shots that they think were some kind of either handgun or assault rifle, not a shotgun, but as this appears to have unfolded an hour or so ago.
Yes, absolutely. When I got here, it was around 8:20, and I stood on the curb, and a few minutes later, I heard one very loud shot, another very loud shot, and then 2 more following that. And I don't know what kind of weapon that would have come from, but the shots were very loud, and they rang out in a very loud bang.
I know this might be asking too much under the circumstances, but were you able to determine at all the rapidity of those shots, and then the sense of, were they coming from the same direction?
I don't know that I can speak to the direction. I do know that the shots rang out with a few seconds in between. It was one shot, then another, then another, then another, and then complete silence after that.
Okay, we're also getting a sense of those who have been on lockdown, including a child care facility where there's a couple of dozen young people at the moment happily watching a movie. We have a lot of concerned parents as well. Can you talk a little about the neighborhood, this long stretch of Brookside, and what it would be like at the time that these series of shootings, it looks like, took place?
Well, the area that we're in is a residential neighborhood. There are lots of homes with attached garages. There are some apartment buildings. You know, it looks like a very family-oriented area here in Fredericton.
So an area where at that hour, again, early in the morning, you'd have people heading to work, sending kids off to school, going for coffee, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is an area where people would have been going about their regular day, and that changed very suddenly this morning.
Can you give us a sense, and again, we can't be specific about police and where they are or what they're doing, but this would obviously be a full court press for the police of Fredericton, and also in a position, I guess, to bring in the RCMP into the investigation as well. Can you talk a bit about what sort of assets are there on the ground in terms of police presence?
There is a large police presence, and while I can't speak to the specifics of where they are and what they have, there is a large police presence on scene, as well as the fire department. There was an ambulance here, but it has since left the scene. But other than that, it's a very large police presence.
And we've been looking at video that you've sent in with the fire truck there and an ambulance as well. So full emergency personnel there on the scene. Natalie Sturgeon, I want to thank you for your time and look forward to the further reporting you'll bring us from the scene.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Hanton lives near the scene of the shooting. We reached her a little while ago on the phone. Here's what she had to say.
I thought I heard 4, and I thought that these were the ones that I would have heard around 20 after 8. I thought that they sounded more like police carbines than anything else. The only kind of shots I'm used to hearing in this neighborhood are during hunting season, and that's the only thing I could compare them with, and they didn't sound like that.
So you're saying it was rather not a boom like a shotgun, but more of a crack crack. Was it rapid?
No, not rapid. There was a time between them.
Was there a sense they were coming from two different directions?
No, I thought they were coming from one area, and they would have been the area that's somewhat west of where I am, which would be the area around the Brookside Mall.
Now, the Ring Road and Main Street with Brookside running between is this area that we're talking about. We're showing the viewers at home the map. It is a long stretch of road. Can you describe what that area is like?
Yep, for sure. When you come up from Main Street, the area that's been blocked off actually starts, well, on Main Street, and right behind that area is a large supermarket. Then as you come up from Main Street, on one side there's a gas station, and then the rest of it is pretty much residential, and it goes all the way up to the intersection with a street called Douglas Avenue, and at that point there is a funeral home on one side there, and a small shopping plaza with, you know, a coffee shop and a sandwich shop and that sort of thing in it, and a couple of small businesses. Then you reach the Ring Road. The Ring Road is connects the outlying areas of Fredericton with Fredericton itself and continues on to the downtown. So once you pass the Ring Road, again, you are into an area with a small amount of shopping and then residential. And the small amount of shopping includes the Brooks, a couple of other places like that.
Elizabeth Hanton, eyewitness who spoke to us just a few minutes ago here on CBC News Network. Let's talk to Megan Roberts, a busy breaking news desk this morning. Megan, what have you got for us?
Well, what we're trying to do is piece together a potential timeline of when this is happening, John. We're relying on both the police and also on witnesses. So this is a potential timeline. It's what we've been able to piece together based on what we've been hearing. So the first shots, according to some of the witnesses that we've spoken to, some of the witnesses that we've seen for our wire service that we subscribe to, the first shots, the earliest we've heard is that they came just after 7 a.m. We also heard other people reporting they heard shots up until about 7:45 or around 8 p.m. So between right after 7 a.m. and around 8 a.m., somewhere in that area is when we heard the first shots. And around that also, you can see here, is when Fredericton police also sent out their first tweet. They sent that tweet out just before 8 a.m. local time. You can see a 4:30 a.m. screen on timestamp on your screen there. That's a different time zone. This happened just before 8 a.m. local Fredericton time, saying avoid that area between Brookside Drive, between Main and Ring Road, with confirming an incident resulted in at least 4 people killed. More information will be available when we can confirm. The other thing that we've been getting information from, and that's the area there that this is all happening, you can see actually how big it is, how much is blocked off, and how many people are affected by this right now with that road being blocked off, such a big chunk of road. Another thing that we've been hearing conflicting reports about is the number of shots. So we just heard that one witness saying she heard 4 shots. There was another witness saying he could have heard up to 17 shots that were fired. So we don't know how many shots were fired at this point. We're certainly getting a broad range of numbers of shots according to different eyewitnesses at the scene. Let's hear from one of those eyewitnesses describing what she heard. Okay, we don't have that for you right now, but like I said, we're trying to piece together this timeline. You can see there's a lot of people on the ground now. We're using information from the police on Twitter, and that is one of the sources they're saying for people to turn to. Go online, go to their Twitter account, and see the most up-to-date information. And one of the things that they posted is thanking people for their patience. You can see there, this is the account to follow for accurate and factual information. So you can go online there. You can listen to us here at CBC News Network as well. We're following this account in case you don't have easy internet access. The other thing that Fredericton police are really stressing right now is do not post your location or anything going on in your location online. Don't talk about it, because of course this is an ongoing incident right now, and police are doing tactical things and they don't want anyone to know exactly where they are and what they're doing. So that's another thing you've really been stressing, is do not post your location online right now, John.
Megan Roberts, thanks for this. In that neighborhood, the neighborhood that we're talking about here, the Brookside Drive area, more than 20 kids are under lockdown at a daycare center. We won't tell you where exactly, but Rachel LeBlanc is watching over them at the center, and she told us this morning how they're doing.
We have infants, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds, and 5-year-olds, and 6-year-olds and 7-year-olds here right now today. We have our center on lockdown. We have a few kids here. We have about 23 kids in our care currently that were dropped off before we went on lockdown because we were unaware of how serious.
We're going to interrupt that to go to Brett Ruskin, who has even more breaking news for us. Brett, what do you know?
John, this happened in the last 1 minute. Fredericton police have tweeted that they have one suspect in custody at this time. This comes directly from Fredericton police tweeting on their Twitter feed that they have one suspect in custody in relation to this shooting. We don't know the circumstances, where this person was found, where this person was arrested, whether it's a man or a woman, but we do know directly from Fredericton police one person has been arrested at this point. The police are calling them a suspect in this shooting, and that the lockdown, the hold in place situation is still in place as well. So people are still being told to remain in their homes, keep their doors locked as well. We do know, again, throughout the morning we've been talking about these 4 people killed in this shooting. We now know that Fredericton police have arrested one suspect in this situation. John.
Brett, this is a situation where in that same release we're talking about police saying that for the foreseeable future the area will be on lockdown. Trying to paint a picture for people about that, because we have heavily armed police, as you've been breaking the news to us, one suspect. There could be more, we don't know, but the idea that this area still does remain under lockdown as police do their job.
Well, you've got to put yourself in the shoes and in the situation that people find themselves in. So at a moment's notice, for example, if you're watching this, wherever you're watching this, to be told, lock the doors, stay where you are, you're stuck there. You cannot leave. So we heard the situation of the daycare with the 23 children inside, and the situation, the mentality of the parents who may have just dropped off their kids, were heading to work, and heard that their kids were in this daycare safe with the 2 doors, as we heard, the security doors locked up with the kids watching the movie. But just the thought that you can't get back to your kids, you can't get to your family members because of this lockdown that has been underway for at least an hour and a half or so since the news first broke of this shooting in the Fredericton area. Again, this lockdown affecting a large area of the north side of the city. Brookside Drive between Main Street and the Ring Road has been locked down for at least 90 minutes or so since the first shots were reported. We've been hearing many accounts of people who heard these gunshots. They've been confirmed by Fredericton police, who have said there have been 4 people killed as a result of this shooting. And the latest breaking news that we have is that one suspect is now in custody, arrested by Fredericton police. We don't know where they were arrested, whether it was in fact in that area that was locked down or elsewhere in the city. We don't know the identity of them either, but we do know that at least one suspect is now in custody. We don't know if police are looking for any other suspects, but they are advising people to remain locked down, stay in their homes if they're living in that Brookside Drive area with the doors and windows locked. John?
And that's a couple of key points there. Not only that, staying inside for your own safety, but Brett, let's talk a bit about the police emphasis on the public's ability, or potentially lack thereof, to send out information about what they may be seeing, because we live in an area of social media where this kind of information can be quickly accessed. Tell us about that, the warning to people in terms of the information that they are asked not to put out there.
Well, that's right. This goes along with any emergency situation that may be happening, any developing situation that may be occurring, to if you see police activity or perhaps police running through your backyard, for example. Even if you do grab a photo or a video, don't tweet it, don't tweet information, don't share police movements or activities, because everyone is on social media, and that could include possible suspects in an emergency situation such as this one. So Fredericton police tweeted it. It's not just us saying not to tweet things. It is Fredericton police who are asking residents who are in this area, who might see developments happening in their vicinity, not to share those developments and information online for the safety and the security and the integrity of this operation and the officers involved who are investigating this situation. Again, the officers involved are both those who are wearing conventional police uniforms with their fairly lightweight security vests, as well as those that are called the Emergency Task Force, SWAT team, different names in different cities. But the heavily armored police, the heavily armed police are also on scene with their heavily armored vehicles as well. We are seeing some images that have been posted online, very generic ones that are showing not only police vehicles but also ambulances too, multiple ambulances on scene at the moment, and we do know that there is just a full response in the Fredericton area to this one part of the North End as a result of this shooting that has claimed the lives of 4 people and has led to 1 person being arrested. That suspect now in police custody. John.
Brett Ruskin with the breaking news there. Thanks again. We'll talk to you soon. We have another local resident joining us now, Robert Diodato. Now, he lives in the area, and he too heard the shots. Robert, thanks for joining us. What did you hear?
Well, around 7 o'clock this morning, I heard what I thought were firecrackers initially. There was like a bang, followed by a bang, 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 and rapid fire, and then another bang. And I thought it was a peculiar sequence. And then a few minutes later, I stepped outside just to make sure, trying to figure out what it was that I was hearing, and I heard it again, but much louder. And concluded it was gunshots, but I wasn't sure at that point.
So the situation that you were talking about here, any way you could count or qualify the number of shots that you might have heard?
Well, in total, maybe over a 15-minute period, I'm going to estimate something like 15. And then roughly, that all sounded the same, like the same frequency, the same sort of sound. And then roughly 20 minutes later, I heard one very loud sound that had a much different pitch to it. I thought it was a rifle, but I really don't know.
Was there a sense that there was a back and forth, or that this was a single individual shooting in a particular direction?
I really don't know. All I could hear was the sequence. I could hear them, like a bang, 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 as I described earlier. A few minutes later, I could hear the various sirens. That's about all I know.
What is the situation where you are right now?
Well, we're all inside our homes. The neighbors are texting with one another, and everybody is sort of concerned, I guess. There's police, obviously very visible, armored vehicles. The streets are secured. There's police blocking the streets to and from. So I guess just everybody's on edge.
This neighborhood, it's a long stretch of road that we're talking about here that has been cordoned off by police. But can you talk about what normally on a Friday morning at around 7:30 in the morning would be going on in that neighborhood?
Well, I can only speak for myself. I'd be walking the dog, drinking a coffee, smelling the roses. Completely safe, very comfortable day and night, quite frankly.
The police, as you say, again, we can't talk specifics about their activity, but it's fair to say that there is a full court press, a significant police presence there on the streets?
There is a combination of RCMP and the local city police. Very impressive to watch. They're evacuating some premises. You can see this from my picture window, and it's kind of amazing to watch, actually, as they're evacuating people. The police are putting themselves between the area where presumably the shooter is and where they're trying to get the people to safety. So just they're acting as a shield watching as people are leaving the area. It's quite impressive to watch.
We're, of course, in touch with police as they continue to give directives to people, and we understand the latest with the arrest of a suspect. That their lockdown scenario effectively continues on. What is it in terms of your day and the next hour or two that you're going to do there with your family in your house?
Well, we're just, we're feeling anxious but safe, and I think everybody's wondering if we're going to get to work at some point when they open the streets up. It's surreal. So we're just comforting one another. We watching the news, just trying to learn what's going on, and just waiting to get word, from the from the authorities that it's safe to leave. But in the meantime, it's just just trying to comfort one another.
What are you saying to one another to comfort each other?
Well, just that there are police around. They obviously know what they're doing. For us to just keep our wits about us, to be staying inside the home, keep the doors locked, and just not do anything stupid. So I guess we're just kind of reminding ourselves of that. And I guess in a way, a lot of the friends and family are calling in various forums as well, and that's kind of a distraction, being able to talk about it with them. Not just looking out the picture window, observing all of the activity.
Yeah, and as again, police emphasize people to stay away from those picture windows. We were talking about a live fire scenario, and bullets have no conscience and could end up coming through a window. So the reminder to anyone who's watching to stay away from your windows and to keep your doors and windows locked. Robert, I want to thank you for your time. Really appreciate that, and all the best to you and your family.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Robert Didi Dodato lives in the area and spoke of hearing as many, he said at least some 15 shots earlier today in Fredericton. Again, the news we've been carrying for you here on CBC News Network. Confirmed by police, 4 people dead in a shooting in Fredericton. Situation now where we've got a release for you from the Premier, and we're going to just read that to you. Premier Brian Gallant issued the following statement regarding the ongoing events in Fredericton. We're all shocked and saddened to learn this morning of the ongoing tragic incident in Fredericton. On behalf of all New Brunswickers, I offer my condolences, thoughts, and prayers to the victims and their families. During this difficult time, our thoughts are also with the courageous men and women on the front lines working to keep us safe. At this time, I would ask New Brunswickers, particularly those in areas identified by police, to keep informed about the situation as it develops and to follow instructions of law enforcement officials working in the area. That's the statement from the Premier of the province, Premier Brian Gallant. Again, the news we've been carrying, 4 people dead in a shooting in Fredericton, 1 suspect under arrest by police. The situation, though, is still ongoing. The Brookside Drive area, from Main to the Ring Road, effectively, people are still being asked to shelter in place, to stay there, doors and windows locked. A couple of other warnings that police are out there emphasizing for people. Don't be calling 911 for information. Don't be calling 911 to inform police of what you may be observing outside your window. They're there, they're doing their jobs, and their safety could be compromised by having phone lines tied up like that. Also, don't identify anything on social media about where you are in your home or what may be going on in terms of police activity outside your home. Again, that is for your safety. That is for the safety of police. We have multiple resources on the ground with CBC News, and reporters will continue with this breaking news for you here on CBC News Network.